Hi guys, it's Mary McIntyre. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute since I've been in here, it feels like. I certainly haven't done anything with resin for a little while on my channel. I've been kind of doing a few things in the background. Now recently I made something that has been in the back of my mind of some project I wanted to do for a really long time, and that was to incorporate circuit boards and old kind of technology hardware, stuff like that, into pendants. So I actually made them into keyrings. I will put a picture on screen now of how they turned out. I could not be happier with what they look like. I have boxes and boxes and boxes of circuit boards and bits of wire and resistors, and any old technology that we have we keep and kind of just take to pieces basically. So I want to make a set of coasters and possibly a trinket tray as well, or key tray. I can't even speak. So I've got these circuit boards here that fit perfectly in my square coaster mold, and as well as that I'm going to put some of these guys because I think they're really awesome as well. There's something just so pleasing about circuit boards, isn't there? They're just fascinating. I love them, and I really love the keyrings. So I'm going to do that, and in the coaster holder I've got a rectangular circuit board, and I've also been keeping, I like literally never throw anything away, but I've been keeping like bits of wire and stripping parts of it so that there's bits of wire showing, more of these kind of three-pronged things. I have no idea what most of this stuff is, by the way. I just think it looks awesome. I've got an old mobility scooter battery charger that died, so I've been pulling things like this off it, and it's just so much fun. And yeah, I really am so excited to make these. In the trinket tray, I might have to do this in 2 batches because this is the biggest beaker I have, and I think I need more resin than I can fit in there. But I've got these kind of comb shaped things, and I've got some connectors, and so I've kind of had a play. I really struggle with not making things symmetrical, so I kind of try to make sure that things look like they're gonna sort of have a plan rather than just randomly throw stuff in. It would look cool like that, but my brain struggles with that. So one thing I do want to do possibly in the trinket tray is just add a few little bits of silver foil. Not a lot. I don't want it to look glittery, but I can just add that anywhere that I think there may be some empty space, particularly in the rim here. And I've also got all of my craft wire up here, so if there are any empty spaces once the resin's in, I can just trim some little bits of wire and sort of sprinkle those around. So the resin that I'm going to use, this is new to me, it's the Apex resin. The reason I went for this is because I did a test on some coasters I made with my Let's Resin resin, and they're fine for cold drinks, but if you put a freshly made cup of tea on there, it leaves a mark. So it's just not heat proof enough for hot drinks, like really hot drinks. This stuff has got a higher heat resistance, and it's also, from what I've seen with other people using it on YouTube, it's just incredibly good clarity. So yeah, I am really excited to get stuck in, particularly to this coaster set. I've measured these and calculated, and I think I need to fill this beaker. So yeah, I am so excited to do this. So yeah, let's get started. Of course, I will be putting my respirator on. I will mix my resin off camera. It's equal parts hardener and resin. Once that's mixed up, I will come back and we can start pouring. Pretty self-explanatory. I basically mix the resin for 5 minutes. I always set a timer and to do that, make sure it's thoroughly mixed. I added a little bit of resin first and then just plopped the circuit boards on top. With the holder, I put some stuff in first and then poked some things down the outsides. So I had all the things I'd already planned out just sitting there waiting to go, and I did end up doing a kind of symmetrical pattern just to make them look uniform. Coaster holder, I added a couple of different bits at the front and some at the back, and then I added at the end some extra bits of wire that I cut, some craft wire. That didn't add anything. I wish I hadn't done that, but on the coaster holder I used the circuit board that perfectly fitted the base and then just topped them all off. turned out that 250 mils of resin was pretty spot on. I could have done with a few more drops in the coasters, but honestly they turned out fine without any dishing or sharp edges crept up, so they just looked awesome. So I did use my tweezers to kind of just shift stuff back into position as it kind of warped out of the way as the resin was pulling in. For the trinket tray, I actually mixed up some of the Let's Resin resin. This stuff doesn't need to take the temperature of a hot cup of tea because it's not a coaster, and I figured it would be good to just compare the two side by side because I don't often do transparent resin projects. So for this one I wish I'd put a bit more resin down first because I did end up with some texture and air pockets underneath on it, but it was the same thing really, just putting connectors and wires around the rim and just basically adding stuff wherever I thought it could go, adding a bit of silver foil and then topping it off. Then I left it 24 hours. It's the next day, it's demold time. Oh, I think I'm going to do the trinket tray first. I only had enough room in my beaker to pour the resin, the Apex resin with the coaster set. This one is the Let's Resin resin because it doesn't need to be as heat proof, and I thought it would be really cool to kind of just do a comparison and see what the clarity's like between the two of them. I've never had any problem with Let's Resin resin, it's always been beautiful, apart from not being as heat resistant. Now annoyingly there are some bubbles that have come up on this and on one of the coasters, but it's not too bad. There are a few bubbles. That's so cool. There's texture on the bottom, which is not sure what that is, but that looks awesome. So cool. There are loads of micro bubbles along the circuit board, but I kind of expected that, so I'm not worried about that. Okay, so let's have a look at these. I'm going to do the holder first. Now, this mould is clearly not very good. It's bulging. You can see that it's not held its own shape. I tried pushing some bottles against it to hold that flat, and it made that go ripply. So I figured it'd be better to have a kind of symmetrical bulge at the bottom here than it would to have had wavy sides along the front. So I'll have to see if I can come up with some kind of housing to hold that in shape. So not impressed with that. That's not the best. I know these were not mega expensive moulds, but that's a bit rubbish. I love that this Arduino Nano circuit board was the perfect size for the base, so that's why I put that one in there. That is so cool. Okay, let's have a look at the coasters. This is so cool. Now it does have frosting on one edge. I'm not sure why that is. That's interesting. That's not great. This edge is okay, but two of the sides have got texture on them. I have no idea what that's about. Bit disappointing because the rest of it looks really awesome. It's annoying when it doesn't work out perfectly when you're using kind of quite expensive resin. That's very clear. There are micro bubbles. I wasn't expecting not to have bubbles in these with all these little intricate things inside them, they're going to have micro bubbles, so I'm kind of not worried about that. The resin itself is beautifully clear. The problem on here is from the mould, not the resin. That's so awesome. That's the right way up there. I've put them so that the words and stuff are on the upper side. But you could use them either way up, to be honest. They're pretty flat. They've turned out really well. They're not too dished. There's no sharp edges. So, yeah, you could use those either way. That's so cool. That's epic. I love them so much. I really love these. Let me bring you down for a close-up. How cool do these look? I love them. These are all Arduino circuit boards. They're so cool. And look at the clarity. It's beautiful. Anyway, this is the tray that could be used as a key tray, trinket tray for coins. Now there are way more bubbles in this one. And I do have this kind of funky texture where it was touching the mould again. So any problems here are down to the mould, not the resin. And that lets resin is also beautifully clear. The bubbles are down to me, not the resin. But yeah, I really like the Let's Resin. It's just not as heat proof, so that's why I used the Apex on the coasters. But that is absolutely beautiful, and there are definitely fewer bubbles here, which, you know, is pretty impressive given the intricacy of all these circuit boards and how many little holes there are. There are going to be air bubbles trapped in that. There's just no way around it. So yeah, I love them. I love them. Let me know what you think in the comments. And they luckily haven't sunk enough to leave an imprint on the front. That was my concern. I love this. I think this is my favourite part, because that circuit board is just the perfect size for this. So this is what I was talking about. The front of this, not so bad. This side and this back, awful. I'm not sure why that is. I wonder if I can sand that down and kind of bring it back to smooth. I might have to, but you can see there that the base here is bulging. That's just down to a poor mould. But yeah, there's obviously something on the mould here that has made a bit of a mess of this. So I would have to sand it down, but not so much that I'm kind of bringing through what's inside. I added a few bits of wire as well. Probably didn't need to have done that. That's not really added much. But yeah, I love these. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Bye for now.